With concerns expressed by human rights groups that DRC authorities had targeted opposition party leaders, restricting their fundamental liberties while arresting party officials, the UN's top person in the country has also highlighted the organization's concerns.
Le rejet de toute proposition des forces politiques.
The rejection of all proposals from the political opposition forces and civil society to resolve the crisis of trust is nevertheless worrisome. Against this backdrop, it is important for the government to ensure that democratic spaces be protected, that freedom of expression and freedom of press be guaranteed, and that human rights be respected. I note the significant improvement of the freedom of movement of opposition leaders throughout the country over the last 2 months, and the commitment by the authorities to ensure their security. This stance must be maintained throughout the process.
And amid calls from the DRC leadership for the expedited withdrawal of the mission from the country, broad consensus here that it must be done in a gradual and responsible manner. The latest Secretary-General report addresses a revised transition plan by pointing to key benchmarks that must be met before the mission's withdrawal, namely the protection of civilians, disarmament, demobilization, reintegration and stabilization of ex-combatants, security sector reform, and the holding of elections, with the transition hinging on the transfer of the mission's core responsibilities to the Congolese state.
With this request in mind, I call on the Council to express itself clearly on the recommendation set out in the 2nd August report of the Secretary-General on the future of MONUSCO. On 15 September, the Congolese authorities endorsed the revised transition plan for MONUSCO. This is an important step towards accelerating the departure of the mission, while ensuring that the process is conducted in a gradual and responsible manner.
Keita also pointed to a volatile situation in 3 eastern provinces, North Kivu, Ituri and South Kivu, that fuel a dramatic humanitarian emergency where some 6 million people remain internally displaced, while gender-based violence remains a horrific reminder of the plight women and girls continue to face.
More than 10,000 survivors of gender-based violence sought assistance in North Kivu, South Kivu, and in Ituri in the months of June and July alone. In addition to these official figures, there are many other individuals who are unable to reach treatment centers. In response to the acute risk of sexual violence in displacement sites, the mission increased its joint patrol with the Congolese armed forces. The Congolese authorities have, for their part, closed numerous brothels in North Kivu. These efforts need to be sustained and intensified to protect women and girls from conflict-fueled abuse.
With the tension between a phased withdrawal and the continued insecurity on the ground likely to play out in the months ahead. The Secretary-General's latest report is clear that the mission's withdrawal required the concomitant establishment of an effective presence of state security and rule of law entities throughout the country, cautioning that the reforms the government needed to undertake would require political will and strong leadership, as well as generous financial and technical assistance from international partners. And with a critical election looming this December, a process and outcome that is likely to impact the current political and security dynamics in the country. Sherman Briceby's SABC News, New York.